My name is Fiona Hotston Moore. I'm one of the contributors to the Handbook of Forensic Accounting and Finance. Employee fraud, a fascinating area, and there are some typical signs. As fraud investigators, we often talk about the fraud triangle. That means the ability, motivation and incentive to undertake fraud. Companies and organisations can hopefully do something to reduce the opportunity, but they won't know whether there is the motivation and the incentive in their employee to undertake fraud. And that one can be quite challenging because you can have an employee who's been there for many years, who's very loyal, but actually something changes outside of work. There might be gambling debts is fairly typical, or some family issues, financial issues, and that will change their motivation to undertake fraud. It's also interesting that we generally will see the fraud rationalised by the employee. They will come back with a defence such as, everyone knew I was doing it, it's my annual bonus, it's part of my pay package, etc. So in their mind, it's not really fraud, it's something they're entitled to. We also talk about the typical signs of internal fraud, and they are often the hard-working, loyal employee, working very long hours, can generally be a little bit ratty if someone approaches them and suggests that they could take some work off them or get involved and help. They might be in at the weekend and it's not necessarily obvious why they need to come in at the weekend. They're tending to avoid holidays and maybe they have a lifestyle that's not matching up with their salary at a time. They do typically tend to have worked for the company for 3 to 5 years. So we very much have that profile of your typical fraudster, but as with most things, generalisations are very dangerous. Other things that we'll be looking for is small differences in the accounts and unreconciled balances. We'll be looking potentially at someone who's very resistant to an external audit, who's not particularly helpful to the auditors or indeed the internal auditors, and is generally an overbearing character within the organisation. And I would say to my clients, if you have a bad instinct about something, your gut instinct, then I would follow that. Unfortunately, typically when you start to look at things, then the individual will become quite defensive, and that again, in my mind, is a reason to investigate further.